मैं सबसे पहले स्वागत करती हूँ श्री गोपाल कृष्ण अग्रवाल जी का, जो आज हमारे बीच प्रमुख वक्ता के रूप में उपस्थित हैं। रामानुजन कॉलेज के प्राचार्य और टीएलसी के डायरेक्टर डॉक्टर एसपी अग्रवाल का स्वागत करती हूँ। श्यामा प्रसाद मुखर्जी कॉलेज की प्राचार्य और हमारी ऊर्जा का स्रोत डॉक्टर साधना शर्मा का बहुत बहुत स्वागत है। इस आयोजन से जुड़े रामानुजन कॉलेज और श्यामा प्रसाद मुखर्जी कॉलेज के सभी प्राध्यापकों और डॉक्टर शिवानी जॉर्ज, डॉक्टर आलोक पांडे, डॉक्टर वीना कपूर, सभी का बहुत बहुत स्वागत है। और विशेष रूप से स्वागत है सभी प्रतिभागियों का जो यहाँ पर इस एफडीपी में जुड़े हैं। सबसे पहले मैं डॉक्टर साधना शर्मा को आमंत्रित करती हूँ कि वे आएं और इस विषय पर थोड़ा प्रकाश डालें। डॉक्टर साधना।
Thank you, Dr. Geeta ji. On this second day of FDP, I welcome the organizing team and all the participants. I welcome CA Shri Gopal Krishna ji. Today, he is going to speak about the concept of Atamnirbhar Bharat as new economic policy. As per my understanding, Atamnirbhar Bharat means self-reliant India. The economic crisis triggered by the COVID-19 pandemic gave birth to the idea of Atamnirbhar Bharat. While the idea was first proposed by Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi ji, some of its features are similar to the Swadeshi movement launched on August 7, 1905 to take on the British regime of the time. On May 12, PM Modi ji announced an economic package of rupees 20 trillion to tide over the COVID crisis under the Atamnirbhar Bharat Abhiyan. The economic package is to play an important role in making India self-reliant, and it would benefit laborers, farmers, honest taxpayers, MSMEs, and the cottage industry. But this self-reliance does not advocate a self-centered protectionist system. According to the government, it does not mean cutting off from rest of the world. It is for nurturing the local manufacturing and construction of ecosystem involved in producing efficient and cost-effective substitute for the global market. If we are able to implement the idea of self-reliant India successfully, and if India succeeds in crossing this bridge, then a new ray of hope awaits on the other side. ये सच्चाई है कि यदि हमने वास्तव में प्रधानमंत्री के इस अभियान के साथ कदम से कदम मिलाकर चल दिए, तो वास्तव में ये एक आशा की ऐसी किरण है कि हम सारी मुसीबतों को पार करके भारत को आत्मनिर्भर बनाने में कामयाब होंगे। और मैं आशा करती हूँ कि हमारी सभी तरीके की एजेंसीज, चाहे वो सरकारी मशीनरी हो, चाहे वो जनता हो, चाहे वो ब्यूरोक्रेट्स हो, ये सभी के सब जो हैं इस अभियान को सक्सेसफुल बनाने में, सफल बनाने में लगेंगे, क्योंकि ये एक बहुत ही जिसको कहते हैं दूरदर्शी वाली योजना है, आत्मनिर्भर भारत की योजना जो है। मैं यहीं पर अपनी बात को विराम देती हूँ। अभी श्री कृष्ण गोपाल जी आपके समक्ष विस्तार से इस विषय पर बात करेंगे, क्योंकि वो भारत की इन सब पॉलिसीज के साथ जुड़े हुए हैं, भारत सरकार की, और इन सब के अंदर उनका बहुत बड़ा योगदान रहा है। इन सबको बनाने में, इन आइडियाज को सामने लाने में बहुत बड़ा योगदान रहा है। तो वो आपको बिल्कुल फर्स्ट हैंड इंफॉर्मेशन दे पाएंगे और इसीलिए विस्तार से वो बात करेंगे और उस जमीनी हकीकत से भी आपको रूबरू कराएंगे, जिसके बारे में बाद में आप अपने विद्यार्थियों के बीच इकोनॉमिक्स पढ़ाते हुए, सोशियोलॉजी पढ़ाते हुए, और भी जो भी कुछ आप पढ़ाने के लिए जाएंगे उसको पढ़ाते हुए उनको रूबरू करा सकते हैं, और वो इकोनॉमिक पॉलिसी को प्रैक्टिकल रूप में, व्यवहारिक रूप में समझ पाएंगे। तो इस बातचीत में आप सबको सहायता मिलेगी। थैंक यू वेरी मच। और आप सबको बहुत बहुत शुभकामनाएं। एक बार फिर से श्री कृष्ण गोपाल कृष्ण जी का बहुत बहुत स्वागत इस एफडीपी में। थैंक यू।
धन्यवाद डॉक्टर शर्मा। Shri Gopal Krishna Agarwal is National Spokesperson of Bharatiya Janata Party Economic Affair. He is a fellow member of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India. He is economic thinker and writes extensively for newspapers, financial journals, and delivers lectures in seminars and conferences. He is a trustee and a treasurer of India Policy Foundation. He is also a member of task force on MSME sector of the Ministry of Finance. He is government nominee of the Central Council of Institute of Company Secretaries and independent director on the board of Northeastern Electric Power Company and Bank of Baroda, and member of board of governors and at Indian Institute of Corporate Affairs. He is also advisor to the Ministry of Water Resources on Namami Gange. He has initiated various public welfare projects like Jaladhikar, Nagrik Manch, Shriji Gausadan Milk Cooperative Movement, and anti-corruption movement. He has also drafted a bill on black money and anti-bribery code. So we are very happy and glad to have you, sir, with us. मैं अब आमंत्रित करती हूँ आपको कि आप कॉन्सेप्ट ऑफ आत्मनिर्भर भारत न्यू इकोनॉमिक पॉलिसी पर अपने विचार व्यक्त करें। जैसा कि डॉक्टर शर्मा ने अभी कहा कि आप शुरू से इससे जुड़े रहे हैं और हमारे लिए बहुत सौभाग्य की बात है कि हमें बिल्कुल फर्स्ट हैंड इंफॉर्मेशन आपके माध्यम से मिली। स्वागत है सर।
धन्यवाद गीता शर्मा जी, धन्यवाद डॉक्टर साधना शर्मा जी, शिवानी जी, आलोक जी, and other faculty members from the SPM College, Delhi Universities, and other colleagues and students, friends, all research scholars. I welcome them and convey my regards to greetings to all of you. Friend, जैसे साधना जी has told you that today's topic is the Atmanirbhar Bharat and new economic policy. I have a 24 slides presentation which I will cover. You can I have also given it to the college, which can share with all the students and the other faculty members and those who are interested to get into the detail of it. I'll briefly cover those slides, and in the end we can have the question answers. Alok ji will carry over the presentation. So the first slide, next slide, Alok ji. I can move or you will move? Yeah.
I will move, sir.
Okay. So Atmanirbhar Bharat is a big, on 12th May, the Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi ji announced Atmanirbhar Bharat. And in that his lecture, there was a big COVID crisis that we are all facing, and the global economy is also facing this crisis. And on 25th March, the Prime Minister announced a complete lockdown, and he said that it is we have to strengthen our healthcare infrastructure, and without that healthcare infrastructure, controlling and establishing that healthcare infrastructure, we cannot control this corona crisis. It's a big healthcare crisis, and therefore on 25th March, the initial government focus was to strengthen our complete healthcare infrastructure, whether it was the pharmaceutical industry or arrangement of PPE kit or ventilators. All those activities took priority from the government side. And the next 2 months, what we were able to achieve was that the health infrastructure was established. The second part of after this first phase was that many people from our country had lost their livelihood and daily livelihood. For them, immediate support, financial support was required, whether through the ration card or whether to direct fund transfer. And the Prime Minister announced the Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Yojana, that was to the tune of 1,72,000 crores, which was a scheme of direct benefit transfer to many sections of the population of the country, which were weaker sections of the society and which were poor and they needed support. First slide ही रहने दीजिए अभी आलोक जी. So that was the two phases which brought us to a brink where we could be sufficiently strengthened to fight the corona crisis. Then when the government announced unlocking of the economy had to be unlocked, and the economy had to be revived, recatalyzed and restart the economy. Then the government announced on 12th May, Prime Minister announced that we have to restart our economy, and for that a big economic package was announced, as Sadhna ji just outlined. There was a 5-day press conference by the finance minister. They announced various schemes, but before that, on 12th May, Prime Minister said that we have to go to the roadmap of Atamnirbhar Bharat. And in that Atamnirbhar Bharat, he said that there are 5 pillars of this Atamnirbhar Bharat that will bring strength to our economy, that will strengthen our economy, and we can, what we expect India to be economic power in the global arena. If we, with these 5 pillars of Atamnirbhar Bharat, we will be able to achieve that strength. And in those 5 pillars, he said the first and foremost important pillar is the economy. If we have a strong economy, the whole country can progress in everywhere, whether it is food availability, where it is employment generation, or rural economy, global integration, or a global economic power, diplomatic power, defense, strong strong infrastructure. All this will come through strong economy. The first and foremost pillar of Atamnirbhar Bharat was strong economy in the country. Second, he said, is the infrastructure. If we have good roads, good housing facilities, good connectivity, air connectivity, ports, waterways, bridges, all these infrastructure are power, good power supply system, water, sanitation, all infrastructure are required for ease of living and ease of doing business. Two important things which create happiness and goodwill in the country are ease of doing business and ease of living. And for that, we need a good infrastructure in the country. And second pillar of the Atamnirbhar Bharat was strong infrastructure. That was the focus, second pillar. The third was, he said that unless we adopt to the technological, new artificial intelligence is coming, new solution, e-commerce, so many systems we see, new apps are coming to our help, mobile, all these technology are an important enabler through which the government can give its support to the common man, and at the same time create new avenues for various economic development. The technology, he said, is the third most important pillar for our Atamnirbhar Bharat. So the 3 important pillars initially was economy, infrastructure and technology. And the 4th and 5th pillar that he said, that we have a young population, more than our 65% of our population belongs to the age category of less than 35 years. That shows that we have a working population which is entrepreneurship, with their entrepreneurship skill. It can create a demographic dividend. And this is one of the important assets that India has. And therefore, demography, he said, is the 4th pillar of our Atamnirbhar Bharat. And the last is the most important for economic growth is we have 135 crore population in the country, which can create lot of demand in the economy. Without the demand, no investment will come. If there is consumer demand, there is a product demand, there is a demand for services, that alone will propel and catalyze our economic activities. So we have, with large population and large middle class population, we have a huge demand in the country. And therefore, this the fourth pillar of our Atamnirbhar Bharat was demand. So these are the 5 pillars that he talked about, through which we can achieve the Atamnirbhar and self-reliant India. And for that, achieving that, he said that there are factors of production that are required. He talked about economic package of more than 20 lakh crores. He talked about several reforms. These all are important, and you can anywhere get them very easily from the Google search. Everybody is now very conversant with the Google and other IT apps and instruments, where we can get all the other aspects of the self-reliant and Atmanirbhar Bharat, how to achieve that, and some of the things I will carry in my this presentation. Alokji, next slide. If we want to understand, I'll take some of the important factors, because data, figures, everything you get. But what is behind the mind of this Atmanirbhar Bharat? Was this Atmanirbhar Bharat only started when this COVID crisis started, or it is only for catalyzing and restarting the economy? That we have to understand. I would very categorically say that Atmanirbhar Bharat, though announced on 12th May, is not limited to only fighting corona crisis, and it not only related to restarting our economy, but it has a large background behind it. And some of the factors that were behind the whole concept of self-reliant and strong economy India is that we do from our independence, we had lot of wealth creation, but there was, next slide, next one, but there was lot of concentration of wealth. Economic growth, benefits of the economic growth were concentrated to very few people. In 2016, a report came, Global Wealth Report, which said that 97% of India's population has the net worth of less than $10,000, means 7 lakh rupees. So large population in our country was excluded from the economic growth of the for economic benefit of the country. So the important thing is to help into redistribution of wealth. That was the one background. Second, in 2016 only, we came out with a report that manufacturing sector, which is a backbone of where any economic growth of the country, was missing in India. We had since independence an agriculture, a large agriculture sector, where more than 90% of our population dependent on agriculture, but they were contributing to a very less amount to our GDP. Slowly, this population shifted from agriculture. This had to be absorbed into manufacturing sector. A manufacturing sector was required to be grown at a fast pace, but in India around 2016, etc., the manufacturing sector was missing. The growth in the manufacturing sector, the strength in the manufacturing sector was missing, and because of this missing link, we shifted to services from agriculture, and manufacturing did not get the full support and focus of the government. Therefore, there was problem of unemployment. There was problem of economic growth, integration of our manufacturing to global and regional supply chain, etc. So the second background was the missing link of the manufacturing sector. And the third background that we worked in the initial year of our first government in 2014 to 19 was the business ecosystem was seeped with corruption, and the system was not transparent. So these three backgrounds were there. Concentration of wealth was one problem, missing link of the manufacturing sector, and the business ecosystem was not transparent, and corruption had seeped into the government and other systems. So these three backgrounds prompted us to come out and correct them and move ahead and remove them, so that India can become an economic superpower and growth. So the next slide, Alokji. after this background, I would like to tell you the basic concept of Atamnirbhar Bharat. The Atamnirbhar Bharat started much before this corona crisis or COVID. In the first regime in 2014 to 19, we worked towards this concept of Atamnirbhar Bharat, and ultimately from this concept, from this these steps, initial steps, we can build a strong economy in the future. And therefore, we have worked in the Atamnirbhar Bharat to bring strength to our manufacturing, and in that also particularly micro, small, medium enterprises. They are the backbone of any economy. Even if you see in US, etc., 60% of the manufacturing is controlled and covered by MSME sector. But in India, MSME sector was not very strong. It had not got the hand holding from the government. It had many problems. So strong manufacturing was the basic concept through which Atmanirbhar Bharat is working. Second important concept which was helping the Atmanirbhar Bharat, and which is the basic thought of the Prime Minister in building a strong and resilient India, a strong economy in India, was creation of a level playing field. If the manufacturing has to start, if the manufacturing sector has to grow, it has to grow from factors of production. There are various factors of production which I'll cover in the next slide, which will help create a level playing field for our manufacturing sector to grow and boom and establish. So we have to create a level playing field with factors of production. Those who are students of economics and or commerce or of business management, they know that factors of production are very important for any manufacturing sector. And in those factors of production, we need to create a level playing field. There has to be an equal opportunity. Anybody can enter, anybody get it, make it competitive with the global arena, and it has to be very clearly transparent and corruption free. And the third important concept of our Atmanirbhar Bharat is wealth creation. Unless we create wealth in the economy, we cannot help into distribution. Distribution cannot be achieved without wealth creation. And manufacturing, agriculture sector, etc., are the sectors which create wealth for the nation. If those wealth is created, resources go to the government, and then government looks for distribution mechanism through like the schemes of Jan Dhan account, social welfare scheme, employment guarantee, ration, public distribution system. All these activity, infrastructure creation, etc., come through wealth creation. So the concept, this basic thoughts and concept have to be very clearly understood by all of you, and not this also has to be understood that this is a larger concept than many people can think at current time. Next slide. Alok ji, next slide. So I said the most important thing for manufacturing sector to grow is the factors of production. And therefore, if you see the government efforts, even in the current announcement or previous announcement, all the efforts I can list on, but all these initiatives of the government can be listed in these 7 categories. These are the 7 areas which our focus of our government is, so that we can build a strong manufacturing base. And for that manufacturing base, the most important thing is land cost. Land is the most important resource for manufacturing. We are creating various land banks. We are creating cluster development, so that land cost and trying to reduce the cost of land, etc. Second important factor of production was the labor reforms. We need lot of labor reform. Therefore, government came out with wage codes, etc., consolidating almost 46 laws into 4 wage codes, labor codes. Labor reforms are being taken up. Power availability and cost is more important. No industry, etc., can survive without power and low cost power. So power generation, hydropower, solar power, wind power, alternative energy availability is being made focused upon. and government dependence on fuel power and the national dependence on fuel power, which is a costly, and we have to import almost 70% of our petroleum products from the global countries. So alternative availability of power is being worked out. Distribution channels, power distribution companies are being reformed through Ujala, all those schemes are there. And RBI is working, interest, capital, the three important factors are land, labor and capital. So we have abundant labor, we have abundant land, but we had shortage of capital. So government and the interest cost in our domestic economy was very high. Over the last 2-3 years, you will see RBI's focus has been to reduce the interest cost so that the capital is available at lower cost. The fifth important point is logistic cost, connectivity. If the manufacturing product have raw material has to be brought to the factory, manufacturing product have to be distributed to the markets, supply chain is required, whole complete supply chain is required, commodities, all things have to come to the factory. Manufacturing sector requires good connectivity for ports, export, business, all these. So our logistic cost in the India is very high. If I'll give you just one figure, that our logistic cost contribution to GDP is almost 14%. Across the globe, it is around 10%. That shows that the logistic cost in our country is very high. So we have brought out a national logistic policy, which says that by 2022, we will bring the logistic cost, reduce the logistic cost through connectivity of road, railways, waterways, airports, seaports, etc. by 40%. This will increase our competitiveness of the manufacturing. So this is our focus. Then the sixth point was ease of doing business. Many people must have heard there are 7 factors which define how the establishment of business can be done easily in a country. All those 10 factors, government is independently focusing to create an ecosystem of ease of doing business. Because of that global competitiveness, we have come to a level of 63 at ranking from 142. In last 6 years, our ranking of ease of doing business globally has reduced from 142 to 63. So that is the focus that the government is working on, ease of doing business, so that there is a better economic environment of doing business. And ultimately, ease of living is also an important factor. If you want to set up industrial clusters or bring talent from across the globe, or attract young people to work in the factory areas or the city areas, etc., they need affordable housing, good infrastructure of electricity, water, sanitation, so ease of living. So these are the important factors, some of the important 7 factors of production. There the government had been working for 5-6 years. These things I am just mentioning, that we should have confidence that Indian economy is going to do well. We are going to be economic superpower, and I'll tell you some of the factors where it clearly shows that the global community has a strong confidence in Indian economy growth, and the government is very focused that we grow as a strong economic superpower with a strong manufacturing base, with a strong services sector, with a strong agriculture economy. All these 3 areas should be strengthened so that we have a good economic growth in the country. And with this, the biggest beneficiary of all these activities will be young population, those who are entering the working age, those after their graduation. All these things are required to be understood by all of you. Next slide, please. Alokji, next slide. As I said, these factors of production will help the manufacturing, and to strengthen our manufacturing, the most important thing is my MSME sector. There I have covered those points. Cluster development is an arena through which government is trying to bring out good clusters where certain particular type of industries can be set up. Like Aligarh has good lock industry, Muradabad has metal industry, Trichur has textile industries. So these kind of cluster development areas are being identified, land banks are identified, hand holding activities are being done, so that small industries can be set up. The third point in the manufacturing strength was government. We have built up several defense corridors. Two defense corridors have been built, in one in UP and another in Madhya Pradesh, so that a lot of defense procurement from the domestic requirement is almost imported from various countries. We want to strengthen our defense manufacturing, and many of the small items we want to reserve for MSME, and therefore we have come out with a defense corridor and defense manufacturing policies that the Prime Minister announced after this Atmanirbhar Bharat. Also, initially also these corridors are being built. 3-4 industrial corridors are being built around the highways, especially dedicated industrial transportation, railway roads, railway connectivity, and the road connectivity along those transportation connectivity ways. Both side industrial areas are being identified, so that and easy. There are 3 important industrial corridors which are being built, where the government focusing to provide the all the facility like pollution control, single window clearance, power generation, raw material supply. All these industrial corridors, along those corridors, industrial clusters are being built, so that special economic zones, special manufacturing zones, and ultimately manufacturing sector will be strengthened through integrating it with the global and regional supply chain. We all know that today, if we are using mobile phone, we see that the mobile phone screen is manufactured somewhere, cover of the mobile is manufactured in different country, battery is manufactured in third country, it is assembled, accessories are made in another country, assembled in the fifth country, and sold to a other country. So there is a global supply chain which supports the manufacturing sectors, and no one country can manufacture all product because of comparative advantage theory and other factors of production availability, etc., resource availability in different region, different countries. We know the importance of global supply chain and regional supply chain. As the global supply chain is happening, similarly regional supply chain are also very important for integrated manufacturing development, and we have to integrate our manufacturing into this global and regional supply chains. So the importance of these supply chains are very important, and integrating our MSME sector to this supply chain, as has been mentioned by Sadhna ji and the Prime Minister, is very important. Unless you integrate your manufacturing into this supply chain, you will be just out of this whole manufacturing cycle. So when the Prime Minister says Atmanirbhar Bharat, it doesn't mean that we will isolate ourselves from the global manufacturing. We will isolate our country from the economic activity across the world. We will efficiently integrate our manufacturing, our services, our other technological innovation.
सर आवाज आ रही है मेरी आपके पास?
नहीं रुक गया है आलोक जी।
हाँ वो लग रहा है सर का नेट में प्रॉब्लम आ गया कोई। हाँ सर जब तक जुड़ेंगे नहीं तब तक सर के इंटरनेट में कोई समस्या है, यही तकनीकी बाधा है।
उसको फोन करना होगा एक बार।
हाँ सर से मैं दोबारा जुड़ेंगे। साधना मैम बात कर लें एक बार आप।
साधना मैम शायद अभी है यहाँ पे।
मैं फोन करता हूँ।
कनेक्टेड तो होंगी वो।
क्या करूँ मैं, मीटिंग एग्जिट करके कॉल करूँ?
कर रहा हूँ मैम, 1 मिनट रुक जाइए।
ठीक है।
आगे मैम, सर आगे।
ठीक है
हाँ आ गई, आवाज आ रही? हाँ
जी सर,
मेरी
आ
वीडियो
रही
भी चल रही है ना? ऑल चल
हाँ,
रही
आ
है
रही
ना
सर।
मेरी?
जी
हाँ
सर,
वो
जी
लाइव।
हाँ। तो अगला अगला ये इसमें हमने कर दिया। नेक्स्ट स्लाइड में आ जाइए लोग जी। आने वाले स्लाइड्स में थोड़ा फास्ट लूंगा क्योंकि उनमें बेसिक कॉन्सेप्ट समझना हमें ज्यादा जरूरी है। हाँ, तो जैसा मैंने आपको आई टोल्ड यू दैट स्ट्रॉन्ग मैन्युफैक्चरिंग में ग्लोबल रीजनल सप्लाई चेन्स की जितनी इंपॉर्टेंस है, उसके साथ प्राइम मिनिस्टर इज आल्सो सेड अबाउट वोकल फॉर लोकल। There is these 3 points next: vocal for local, protectionism versus liberalization, and Swadeshi. These things you should very well understand because there are certain confusion on this. When the Prime Minister talks about vocal for local, that means during this COVID crisis, we have seen that how we were dependent upon the local food grain supplier or local vendor, etc., for our day-to-day needs. So the importance of local supply chain is very important. Our dependence on day-to-day life is based on these local suppliers. We should preserve and conserve them, not ignore them. These are very important. So when he says vocal for local means the importance of vocal and local product is all very important in our day-to-day life. But he doesn't mean that we do not integrate with global and regional supply chain. The next point I would like to clarify is protectionism versus liberalization. If you see Indian history, we have a very long history of India. We have more than around 4,000 to 5,000 years of history, even 3,000 years of written history. If you analyze, other than last 300 years, when Britishers invaded us, before that almost 27% of the global trade was controlled by Indian traders. We were a big participant in the global trade. And today our participation to the global trade is around less than 2%. So even if you look into the China's economy, in 30 years, they have progressed a lot because they became the manufacturing hub for the global companies. They became the global manufacturing hub and integrated their economy to global economy. So liberalization has a very important role in economic growth. Protectionism of the manufacturing sector or other sector till in the nascent age is required. But ultimately, economic growth at the world level can be attained through liberal economic policies. And that is the aim. There we want to go. But till that, if there is no level playing field for our manufacturing sector, first requirement from the government side is create a competitive environment, low and level playing field for my manufacturing sector domestically. Once they have become competitive enough, their rate of interest, their cost of power, their cost of land, their labor cost, etc., are globally competitive. Then only you have to open them to global competition. So this balance has to be made, but ultimately protectionism cannot go for long. Therefore, we ask business associations, etc., to work for to compete the world. and not ask always for protectionism. It can be done through a limited period only. So this we have to understand. And when we talk of Swadeshi, Swadeshi is a product-based mass movement. The people should have a habit of asking and using, utilizing local-made product. That is a mass movement that is can be part of the this Atamnirbhar Bharat, one aspect of Atamnirbhar Bharat. But Atamnirbhar Bharat has a bigger connotation. It has a larger perspective. It has a larger vision. It's a global vision. And Swadeshi is an important component of that Atamnirbhar Bharat. This I wanted to clarify as a background. Next slide, please. The other point that we all should understand at this point of time is whether this Atamnirbhar Bharat is only for disengagement with China. No. One thing I said, that Atamnirbhar Bharat is not only related to fight against COVID and restarting the economy. Atamnirbhar Bharat was a long concept, a much older concept with a larger vision. It started almost 5-6 years back. The background concept, the working by the government started there. And the third important thing that we should all understand is our disengagement with China. Atamnirbhar Bharat is not we need to disengage our economy from China. But Atamnirbhar Bharat is not limited to our disengagement with China. Our disengagement with China started much early. If you all remember that in November 2019, we did not sign regional comprehensive economic partnership dialogue. That was a big focus area for China. They were pressurizing India to sign this RCEP, which was a conglomeration of 15 countries there, where they were saying that all the 15 countries will have free trade facilities, zero custom duty, all trade, etc. can move ahead, which would have only benefited mostly China, because it has at present able to build strong manufacturing, competitive manufacturing base, and India has not been able to do so. So we opted out with RCEP in November 2019. So it is much before the this corona crisis started. Second was in 2010 we started came with an agreement with a free trade agreement. We entered into free trade agreement with ASEAN countries. There are 10 countries, regional countries near India, like Indonesia, Malaysia, Singapore, Bangkok, Thailand, all these, Bangladesh, these countries, Nepal, Bhutan, all these countries are ASEAN countries, and they have good trade. Regional trade bloc was formulated in 2010, and many of the all these products from these countries were allowed to enter India with zero custom duty, zero import duty. That hurt our manufacturing a lot. From 2010, you see our domestic industry, manufacturing industry has been mostly पिछली स्लाइड ही रखिए, मोस्टली आलोक जी पिछली वाली, इससे पहली स्लाइड ही, हाँ नहीं नहीं इससे अगली, नेक्स्ट. So FTA had hurt our domestic manufacturing because of zero custom duty from the ASEAN countries. We have started reworking this FTA from the 10 ASEAN countries. We need to renegotiate it. We will not allow zero import custom duty. Therefore, this was our disengagement with China. Or China had taken benefit of these free trade agreement with these countries. It has shifted many of its manufacturing bases to this country, and from there it was exporting to India. So we required to increase our import duty, put up anti-dumping duty, put up non-tariff barriers, and these things started with our budget. We announced the second budget of the second term, where we increased import duty in more than 56 items, and put up many anti-dumping duty in iron, steel, at cement, etc. Put up non-tariff barrier. Yesterday also, if you see in the newspaper, India has put up non-tariff barriers in 135 items. This is to counter China, and this engagement with China started much earlier, even before COVID and even before this Galwan crisis. We wanted to disengage with China because it was hurting our economy. And with COVID, what happened was, when this COVID came, China has grown a lot in last 30 years because it has established manufacturing base for the global manufacturing companies. And with the COVID crisis, these multinational companies thought that if we establish all our manufacturing in single country, there is a big risk involved. And therefore, we coined this risk diversion strategy with the COVID. Many of these multinational manufacturing companies which had manufacturing base in China wanted to shift and establish an alternative manufacturing base. And for that, India was the best alternative for them, with other availabilities, democracy, all those factors that we said about our economic strength, pillars of economy. Therefore, what we called was risk diversion strategy, which we were working on since the COVID, that we will attract many manufacturing companies, global manufacturing companies, which want to shift base of manufacturing from China and attract them to come to India. And therefore, UP, Madhya Pradesh, several states have set up a separate committee, focus committee, to attract these foreign manufacturing bases. And over last 5-6 years, we have seen that mobile companies, etc., have also shifted to India. So this risk diversion strategy has also started working in India's favor in manufacturing sector, and that we wanted to take benefit. Next slide. This engagement was also required that we had a huge trade deficit with China, and our imports were very high and export were very less, which was hurting our foreign exchange reserve. That was required. And even this, we were many companies and young people were getting dependent on the mobile app. There was a problem of data localization and data sharing, security reasons were there. Therefore, the government banned these 59 apps. And even we have good ample talent in India to make these applications. And therefore, we are attracting new talent to come up with these mobile apps. And this engagement started because of that. Thoda niche kar lijiye isko. Important thing with China is that what we are importing from China is mainly those items like toys, electrical, electronics, equipment, minerals, iron, steel, furniture, sports good, chemicals, musical instrument. All these items are not technically very complicated. India has a lot of talent to manufacture these items, and they can be manufactured in MSME sector. Just because we did not have a competitive and level playing field for manufacturing, the government focus earlier was not on the manufacturing. Therefore, all these items were being imported from China. If you see the list, these are items, no great technology is required. Everybody can make them. And mostly all our imports from China belong to these 5 categories. These 6-7 categories. So very easily we can shift to manufacturing them into India, and therefore our disengagement is started with these things. So the next slide is the way on this basis I want to just mention that this is the basic background. This is the basic concept on which Atamnirbhar Bharat establishes itself. It is a vision for a strong and self-reliant economy, a target that we had set up of 5 trillion economic for India, though it has been delayed now because of Corona crisis, but our target is there. We are working toward them. We are working on the factors of production. We are working on the 5 pillars of self-reliant, and it is a long drawn process. We are disengaging with China. We are also establishing our economic ecosystem so that our manufacturing can develop. So these are the slide that Atamnirbhar Bharat is basically based on. I have covered this. Next slide, please. As I have mentioned, now it is a simple process. I have given you the basic backgrounds of the whole Atamnirbhar Bharat, on which we have taken several initiatives. upgradation of industrial infrastructure is taking place. Clusters are being identified. I have mentioned land banks are being identified. Group of different ministries are working together so that single window clearance for manufacturing can take place. And connectivity is being done. Railways, airways, all these things are creating an upgraded industrial infrastructure for our industries to develop and integrate them to the global and regional supply chain. Next slide, please. As I have mentioned that there are requirement of policy reforms also if we want to create a good ecosystem of business, transparent and corruption-free ecosystem for our business community. We need fast-track investment permissions for the people. We have taken initiatives on intellectual property right. We, as our government has taken initiative on creating the startup ecosystem, even connecting academic institutions to industrial production. New ideas come to the young people. They have to be implemented. They have to be financed. They need to be handholded. They need to get the market support. All these things are being done at a policy level. Taxation policies are being made transparent in through GST, etc. Indirect tax compliances are being reduced. E-assessment is being taken care of so that people don't have to get harassment through the physical intervention and going to the income tax department and running after pillar and post. All these things are being made online. Virtual assessment is being done. GST is completely online. Permissions are being streamlined through single window clearances. Even various permissions for setting up manufacturing are being done away with, except environmental clearance. Most of the requirement of permissions from the government, license laws, etc., are being dismantled. More than 1,000 redundant laws are being discontinued. So in every field, huge reforms is taking place. Even the bureaucracy is being made more accountable. So these are the initiatives that I have ranked. Even the competitiveness, because ultimately the last mile connectivity for any manufacturing sector has to come from the states, and therefore central government has come out with schemes of competitiveness between the states. Which state can give better facility to the manufacturing will be supported by the center with financing also, and with the international exposure for identified project to be set up in that area. Central government has set up a team where it thinks that from risk diversion strategies, it is identifying across the globe which of the manufacturing companies are ready and can come to India. Those what are their requirements, which state can give them a better facility for their working. All these things are being worked out at the central ministry, group of ministers, group of bureaucrats, and is being integrated and coordinated with the states. Therefore, you see UP is seeing a big initiative on this, and certain other South also is seeing good development in these areas. Next slide, please. As I said, that the defense production is one area where there is an ample opportunity. Almost 20 lakh crore of defense products are being imported every year. And there are many items which can be easily manufactured in India, and all are imported. So our main focus is on defense production substitution, self-reliant in defense industries for India, and give this manufacturing, assured manufacturing market to MSME sector. Many initiative schemes are come up. So defense self-reliance will help the national security also, strengthen our armed forces also, and at the same time create good manufacturing base for our domestic manufacturing industries, and save our foreign exchange reserves. Next slide. After this, what I would like to just mention briefly is that all these efforts were taking place. Prime Minister announced this Atamnirbhar Bharat initiative, etc. And in that period, what happened was the economic, this COVID crisis happened, and therefore a lot of fiscal support, direct fund support was required to recatalyze and rejuvenate economic activity in India. And therefore, in these 4 tranches, the central government announced various initiatives where it will provide direct financial support to certain sectors, important sectors, which can catalyze and grow economy. These 4 tranches are important. They are particularly linked only to corona, our fight against corona crisis, to restart our economy, to recatalyze our economic growth. These are also one part of the Atmanirbhar Bharat, but they are at present very important. We should all know that in the first tranche, Finance Minister announced huge financial support to MSME, NBFC, housing finance company, the power distribution companies, contractors, real estate, giving support, provident fund, ESI support to the working class, etc. And almost 6 lakh crores schemes were announced by the central government in the first tranche. Then in the second tranche, that the migration laborers were lost their jobs. There were daily wages, those who were putting up their shops, ready wale, patri wale, all these required support from the government. Over the 2-3 months that the economy was locked, they lost their capital, savings, etc. was spent in their day-to-day needs. So they needed to recapitalize, and therefore government announced around 3,10,000 crores of support to particularly migrant labor, to particularly ready wala, patri wala, taxi wala, all these people, small capital of 50,000, 1 lakh, like this support the government has announced. The third tranche was for agriculture sector. Our large population at present, almost 57% of the population lives in rural areas and is dependent on agriculture. Therefore, government announced, in addition to many reforms like APMC, etc., announced a 1.5 lakh crore package for this food processing industries, value addition at the agriculture sector, creation of food processing organized FPOs and aggregators. All these were was announced in the third tranche. And fourth tranche, the migration labor got support from the government. नीचे कर दीजिए आलोक जी थोड़ा, ये fourth tranche दिख जाएगा सबको. The fourth tranche specifically was for certain sectors. Initially, also government has announced a 60. Government had announced a package of 62,000 crores for the pharma sector. Similarly, other sectors like mineral, airspace, social infrastructure, etc., were given support with. Next slide. This is the list of sectors which got support from this economic package from the Atmanirbhar. I'll not go into detail, but many of the sectors have a percentage-wise distribution. Every sector government has tried to help and support every sector. Next slide, please. One thing I would like to mention is that important part of the economic development is that the startup ecosystem. The Prime Minister says that young people, we have a demographic dividend. Yeah, we have a lot of young educated and skilled population which can come out, which has technical knowledge. We have good IITs, IIM, good universities, educational institutions. They have innovative ideas. If we convert them ideas into industrial and commercial use, then only economy can move in a fast track. We can have good entrepreneurship in environment, self-employment. And if the large population has to be supported and given employment, the only way is to develop an entrepreneurship mechanism or mindset in the country, self-employment ecosystem. and therefore startup ecosystem is required to be supported. And the government has over the several years has focusly tried to support startup ecosystem. These 2-3 slides are dependent on this. These are very important, but I would like not to take over all those things, but I would like to go through the request you to go through the whole startup ecosystem websites and ecosystem startup portal by the government. You will find several schemes. Even many of the PSUs have announced several processes, etc., as a hackathon, which are the problem areas in their manufacturing areas. Anybody coming out with the solution or trying to do research in that problem solution, processes solution, or product development, it will be financed by the PSUs. Even the government will help into their research. Then the product or idea will be helped into through the Atal Tinkering Lab, Atal Innovation Mission, Atal other startup systems. It will be financed and ultimately converted into commercial ideas, and even the product will be bought by the PSUs and even the government departments. So this is very important. Next slide. And technology is required. Startup ecosystem has a particular definition. It is not all manufacturing do not classify for startup initiative or startup ecosystem. There are particular conditions that it has to be new idea, it has to be first time manufactured, or solution has to come out, it has certain potential. All these things I have listed in this slide, which classify and define what is a startup ecosystem. But basically we should not think that startup ecosystem or startup India is just an initiative wherever any new manufacturing sector, a manufacturing industry unit is set up. It is not like that. It has particular definition for it. Next slide, please. This important thing for all manufacturing is the product marketing, and government through its initiative has come out with GEM, government e-market procurement platform, like e-commerce. For anybody's, any manufacturing or startup, etc., they want to sell to the government department or PSUs, etc., they can go to the website, register themselves, and without any big competition or hassle, simply directly without any tendering process, etc., can directly supply in a competitive environment in a transparent manner to the government, and the payment is secured. The government e-market initiative is a very helpful in the, particularly for startup also. They get a special benefit and price competitiveness, relaxation, and other also have a good scope for selling their product through government e-market. Lot of focus is there by the government on establishing this, improving it, and more departments are being integrated. Even the private PSUs, large companies, are being forced to list themselves and their requirement to government e-market portal. Next slide, please. There are several benefits for the startup also. The most important is the tax concession, that they are only taxed at a 15%. It's a very low. Globally, it is a very competitive environment on taxation benefit that the startup get. They have they have certain relaxations on this employees stock options. Also several other investment avenues benefits are being given to the startup. There are several benefits specifically available to new startups. So it is for the young population, for the youth with good ideas, good innovation research, or engineering skills, etc., or other skills, can work in this ecosystem. This we should all understand. This is a good area for economic growth of the individual. Next slide, please. What I was talking about, the Startup India portal, this portal everybody should visit. You will get the latest information, how many incubators are there, what are the mentors, how angel investors how can you get access to the funds from the government, private investor, how can you list your shares, how can that product or process can be converted into commercial activities. All these information are given in this startup portal. You should take benefit out of it, and it is one of the important part of the Atamnirbhar Bharat and superpower that we want to build India to be. This startup in India portal is important for all of us to visit and understand the whole ecosystem. Next slide, please. These 2-3 slides, with this I will complete my presentation. The new areas after this Atamnirbhar Bharat, all this background that I've said, which are the areas where we will see the economic activity, because you want to plan your career, you want to find your areas where you should build your skills and work, see your future activities immediately in a time frame of 3 to 5 years. These are the areas where our government focus is, which we think will contribute more towards the GDP, and these areas will see growth considering the constraint challenges in the economy, considering the global recession in the economy, fall in the economic sector. These are the areas where we see immediate growth and recovery. One and foremost is agriculture and food processing. Food processing, value addition at the farm level, packaging, all these products, etc. Is an important area where a lot of government support, financing, reforms, etc. will be seen. There will be warehousing facilities, the food supply chain is being integrated, cold well supply chain are being worked into, warehousing facilities are being created. So agriculture and food processing is one area where we should see good growth and focus our skills and the career build along that. Second is the construction, affordable housing. We have a big shortage of affordable housing, low cost housing. Even we see the problems of migration labor, because there are in the urban areas no affordable housing. They are living in very bad shape, very difficult situation. So government has come out with many schemes where low cost housing, affordable housing are being built, and affordable housing with facility for cooking, sanitation, toilet, recreation. Some such kind of community housing areas are being built up at the clusters or industrial corridors where migration labor can stay together. So this is one another area. This will also generate lot of employment also. So agriculture, food processing, and affordable housing can create employment opportunity also, and good scope for growth in the India. Textile, India had been a global leader, but over some years we lost to Bangladesh and Philippines, etc. We want to regain that place in textile. So many of the textile industry which were in very bad situations are being reworked and reshaped so that we can strengthen our textile industries. It had given a lot of employment. Healthcare, education, and drinking water. These are the three areas where a lot of investment from the government welfare schemes will come, because we have a poor healthcare. Education requires good, much more support from the government than we have at present. And drinking water, the government has targeted that almost 15 crore household should get a tap water by 2024. Huge fund has been allocated to these three areas. Healthcare will see further allocation. Education will also see further allocation, because these two areas only will, the importance of these two areas have come out very nicely in this corona crisis. Education, skill development, etc. we all know will only help in the employment generation. So these three areas where a lot of government schemes and funds will come, even NGOs, social entrepreneurship, etc. are being motivated and increased in this area. So we can look into our careers into these areas, even in the form of NGOs also, social entrepreneurship also. New laws are being made into put in place for social entrepreneurship. And we consider that profit is not a bad word. Profit is required. Reasonable return to factors of production should come. But we should integrate our objectives, give opportunity for young people and youth and other with good intention people to integrate their daily requirement, get returns on their efforts, and through this previous slide. And roads, railways, ports, and waterways. These four connectivity, what ports is airport and what seaport, both. Sagar Mala, more than 165 airports are being built, new airports, international airports, etc. are being built in near Delhi. Jewar, new biggest airport in India is being built in Jewar. So these things will see lot of these national infrastructure pipeline has already put in pipeline to support these areas of connectivity. This will reduce logistic cost, ease of living, ease of doing business, and transportation, etc. So these are the 5 areas where you should see renewed effort from the government part, and we should build our career in and our education in along these areas. I think immediately within 3 to 5 years, these areas will see good focus from the government. Next slide. I would like to mention here, Prime Minister Narendra Modi is never shy of taking bold decisions, even in the crisis also, even in the Atamnirbhar Bharat announcement also. In this period, where there are a lot of unions and other people are saying that we should not go for disinvestment, privatization of railways, commercialization of coal blocks, reduction of corporate tax, GST. These 5 important points as a bold decision I would mark, which the government has taken recently, in spite of general perception of many people, as these are required for the growth of our economy. We want to, if we want to bring make a strong economy for the country, we have almost 450 PSUs. Many of the PSUs have making losses. They are a resource constraint on our taxpayers' money. So government has planned that we will have only PSUs in 9 strategic sectors. Why every other thing should small things should have a public sector undertaking? Leave it for the private sector to flourish. So PSU disinvestment is a bold decision immediately taken. Only 9 strategic sectors will have PSUs, and in that 9 sectors also, only not more than 4 units will public sector undertaking will remain. So almost 1/10 we want to reduce PSUs. Privatization of railways require a lot of resources. We don't have capital from the government to spend. So we cannot just let our railways deplete. We need, therefore, we have attracted, opened certain routes for the private investment for railways to be operated, and so that it can build infrastructure also. Coal, if you see the policy complication in coal block alone, this example will be sufficient, that we have the one of the largest coal block resource in our country, but major coals were being imported, and we were finding short supply for our thermal power, even railways, etc. Many of the activities were finding difficulty because of import policies of the government, and policies of government where coal blocks lying inside the country were not being commercially exploited. So commercialization and opening of the coal blocks has been announced for the private sector. Auctions is taking place, and the corporate tax, many of the people were saying that the corporate tax, that's social thought. Some people have a social mind bend, social mindset, where they said that the corporate sector should not get benefit. It is not like that. They are part of the economic growth. They create wealth. They have to be supported. So we reduce the corporate tax to almost 25%. It is globally competitive. So in spite of many reservations and narration, the government went ahead because these decisions needed for our growth and economic development. Even GST, we see certain complication, but the government is working day and night to improve that GST and network and improve the indirect tax collection, e-way bill completely. So Prime Minister never shy of taking bold decisions in spite of any particular people having wrong narration or anything. But if it is in the interest of the common people, he takes those bold decisions. The last slide is where I'll just show that all these efforts are showing sign that our economy is recovering. Many people have questioned that we will have V-shaped recovery or U-shaped recovery, or when will our recovery of economy take place. I am very confident. Prime Minister has said several times that we will surely see economic recovery very fast, and signs of rural and agriculture sector looking up. If you see the newspapers of last 6-7 days, you will see that the fund transfer of the government in the rural economy, push of through Manrega, Pradhan Mantri Kisan Samman Nidhi, Ujjwala Yojana, or other schemes where Ayushman Bharat, all these money transferred to the rural areas is paying good dividend and results, and rural economy and agriculture sector is looking up. Automobile industry is picking up. Even pharma sector has become so strong that by on 25th March we were not even manufacturing single PPE, but now, and no incubator, but now we are in a position of manufacturing lakhs of PPE, crores of face covers, thousands of inhalers, this incubators, all this ventilators, thousands of ventilators. Even we were able to produce this anti-malarial drug, and were exporting huge quantity to the nations who required. So our pharma sector has gained strength. Well, a lot, government has spent a lot and focused on this, and now we have a very strong pharma sector. एक पिछला slide ही रख लीजिए. And yesterday, Apple had committed 5. पिछला slide है. Apple has committed that they will invest $5 billion, almost 35,000 crores rupees for manufacturing, and shift their manufacturing from China to India. It's a huge investment. And yesterday, Google said that it will invest $10 billion, 75,000 crores in India for Digital India initiative. So all these things show good result. I think these signs of recovery are a healthy sign. Our economy is on a path of recovery, but it alone cannot happen from Prime Minister's effort or government effort only. All persons should have confidence in the leadership, have confidence in the economy, confidence in ourselves, integrate our objective with the country's objective, and for the country's objective, etc., are required. Increase our skills, develop those skills, identify proper areas where we can enter in our life. Those areas are required. Good research is required, good studies is required, good handholding is required. All together can make a strong and prosperous country, and ultimately all of us will be benefited. Next, last slide. With this, I would like to thank SPM College and Sadhna ji particularly for inviting me and giving me this opportunity, and all of you for patiently hearing my presentation. This presentation I am leaving with you, and I am also open to any, I am very active on my Twitter handle. If has any suggestions or any questions, some questions I will take here. If any other person has any question or any suggestion, he can connect me through my Twitter handle, Gopal Agarwal. Gopal Agarwal, as has been mentioned here. So from that, you can connect me on Facebook, Twitter, or email, anything that will be properly taken to the government, and we will take action on that. Thank you very much.
बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद सर. अपने ज्ञानवर्धक आपके वक्तव्य के लिए। डॉक्टर शिवानी, कुछ समय ज्यादा हो गया है, हम एक आधा ही क्वेश्चन दे सकते हैं अगर समय
जी
चाहें।
जी, एक प्रश्न जो मेरी आवाज आ रही है ना?
जी जी, आ रही है।
एक प्रश्न जो हम शिक्षक समुदाय से जुड़ा हुआ है, पवित्रा चौधरी पूछ रही हैं, वही प्रश्न मैं ले लेती हूँ। सर, हाउ विल दिस पॉलिसी इफेक्ट एजुकेशन सेक्टर?
Education sector directly it will not affect, but the government focus on investment into education is one thing. Second thing is government is working on academic and industrial connect. So ultimate what is happening is we what in India we lack is that industrial research or academic research, etc. Universities research is not connected to the industrial or commercial use. So the government is trying to connect that, provide that ecosystem where academic industrial connect is established. This is the second. More fund allocation, etc. is one thing, and the third is skill development initiative, that the skill mapping, etc. is being done away is being done, so that better skill mapping of the people takes place, so that if the new industries, etc. come, they can get the benefit of that skill bank. And IPR policy and standard, this BSI standards, etc. are being improved. Lot of changes are taking place in intellectual property rights, etc. Giving more protection to the intellectual property rights, smoothening them. Even this IPR patent, etc. is being in process of patent registration, etc. are being improved. So these are the way through which we can help education sector.
बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद सर। और इस
क्वेश्चन तो काफी आए हैं, ये आप मुझे भेज देंगे तो मैं इसको रिस्पॉन्ड बाद में भी कर सकता हूँ।
जी सर, जी
है ना, एक बार या तो कोई इंपॉर्टेंट एक दो क्वेश्चन आप बोल दीजिए, एक साथ में जवाब दे दूंगा, कोई अगर लगते हैं तो।
मेरे ख्याल से हमारे दूसरे वक्ता भी आ गए हैं शायद।
अच्छा ठीक है,
हम सर को ईमेल कर देंगे सारा क्वेश्चंस। और
ठीक है।
मैं उनको बुलाती हूँ।
आपने जो यहाँ व्याख्यान दिया वो बहुत चर्चित जो आत्मनिर्भर भारत का एक कॉन्सेप्ट है जो हमारे मन में शायद इतना क्लियर नहीं था, अब आपके लेक्चर के बाद वो सबके मन में क्लियर हो गया होगा। और जो प्रश्न आ रहे हैं वो बहुत स्वाभाविक हैं, प्रश्न उठना बहुत जरूरी भी है और स्वाभाविक भी है। और अनुरोध है कि आप सर के ट्विटर हैंडल पे अपने प्रश्न भेज सकते हैं। आपने अर्थव्यवस्था, इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर, टेक्नोलॉजी, वाइब्रेंट डेमोग्राफी और डिमांड, जो 5 इसके स्तंभ हैं, उसको इतने अच्छी तरह से क्लियर किया है कि यह जो सरकार का इनिशिएटिव है, ये हमारे दिमाग में बहुत प्रॉमिसिंग लग रहा है कि आगे शायद जो युवा इस समय बहुत निराशा के गर्त में डूबे हुए हैं इस कोविड के कारण, वो इससे जरूर लाभान्वित होंगे। और एक पंक्तियां याद आ रही हैं दुष्यंत कुमार की, कौन कहता है कि आकाश में सुराख नहीं हो सकता, एक पत्थर तो तबीयत से उछालो यारों। तो एक पत्थर उछालने की जो शुरुआत हमारी सरकार ने की है, मुझे पूरी उम्मीद है कि आगे, जैसा आपने कहा कि एक व्यक्ति नहीं कर सकता, सभी युवाओं को और सभी देश की जनता को इसमें योगदान देना पड़ेगा।